I'm here because of my trauma. I'm doing what I'm doing because of my trauma. It's not that I'm sitting in anger and fear and grief or anything like that. It's there's been a gift, all of that has happened to me, and I'm resourced because of it. There's lessons and learnings and resources that are in me now because of something happening the way it did.
Hello, kia ora, and welcome to What is a Rite of Passage. My guest today is Scott Hallam from Aotearoa, New Zealand. I acknowledge the Jaja Wurrung, the traditional custodians of the land where this is being recorded. I acknowledge elders, knowledge holders, past, present and future. May their ceremonies and initiations be remembered, and may this feed and heal the country on which we live, work and play. Would you like to check in, man?
Thanks, Damien, for having me. Yeah, my name's Scott Hallam. I live in Snells Beach, New Zealand. I reside on the country of the Ngāti Whātua people. It's a pleasure to be here, checking into the mystery of this conversation, and hope it can be rich.
Thank you, Scott.
Mm.
It's been a consistent experience that getting to this call has taken a bit of a task, and so for you it was unhooking your trailer and sort of just shifting and getting here, and something that I really like to practice in all of this is ease. Yeah, and if there's something I can take away from every interview, it's how do you come home to yourself, or how do you arrive when you're out there and you want to come back in?
I guess there's an emptying of all of the stories I could tell myself about what I don't know, and I lean heavily on my ancestors and my unseen helpers to come through and really help me get out of the way. You know what I'm saying? So that's part of my routine, and I really welcome that. So today, with dropping the trailer and getting away from my brother's place, we were modifying a rock oven. The oven is to heat rocks in conditions when we can't light fires in the open for fear of burning down a forest or something like that. So, yeah, the work of ceremony is still going on, and full credit to my brother for lending his engineering workshop and doing the practical piece, right? Hands-on. Yeah.
Thanks for bringing that in, man. Something that I get to practice here is appreciation, and the intention behind that is to enrich the minds of my guest and of myself. Yeah, and it's also become an enjoyable practice. And so, yeah, my appreciation for you, Scott, is it's a very new relationship. I met you not even a couple of years ago, when I did my New Warrior training adventure in Coonjiwarra in Queensland. And so I appreciate you being present for that. I appreciate you bringing a kind of graceful warrior that I had maybe never really seen before. Yeah, I saw a man who I judged could be powerful and deadly, and quickly saw that there was that same capacity for love and to hold and care and to be with. And so that's my appreciation, and thank you so much for bringing that to my life.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure. My journey with the Mankind Project is started in 2005. I was dairy farming. I had been pastry chefing, and I wanted to change. I wanted to work with my hands and get outside, and so dairy farming is where I ended up. A young family, and I felt something was missing. If I look at that self now, that younger me, I would say he was lost. He was lost and doing his best to get by. And I made the stories fit my situation about how I could be on top, how I could ascend the situation so I could feel good about myself. But really, I didn't. So I had some big questions, and I sought some answers, and that led to ending up on a new warrior training adventure. And 20 years later, and 60 something trainings later, yeah, being in this place, and still relying on all of the skills and lessons learned through this men's work. Yeah, still doing things that kind of have me end up with another lesson to learn, a small humiliation or something like that, and really landing into that and going, yep, okay, that's what it is. That's how I learn, and appreciating just being able to like pass on that wisdom. Yeah.
Is there anything you bring to the work from that life before 2006?
So I grew up in a church, and there's a beautiful spiritual awareness aspect. There's the sticking to the rules, um, and I guess I can credit that for guiding me through and keeping me out of trouble in more ways than one. And music came through for me as well. So my mum played the piano in the church, and she needed a drummer, and she bought me a kit and had me drumming in the church band, much to the disgust of the older generation. And now I'm in a band at the local pub as well. So and have a lot of fun with those fellas, entertaining and just jamming out. Yeah. So yeah, there's some really sweet things that have come through there, and of course, uh, as I've found in my experience, and I'm learning about others as I sit in circle and chat, that that I had to undo a bunch of stuff, and break some of the rules that were set up to keep me really safe as a young person, and I've done it differently with my children as well. So it's been an enjoyable learning experience. Actually, raising my own kids has been a lot of fun. So does that sort of answer your question there?
Sure,
Sweet.
sure. Something I'm really curious about is, yeah, what I do differently to how I was brought up and how I brought myself up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can see some things kind of complement my upbringing. Some things are a bit reactionary. Yeah, that's my question. Yeah, what do you give your kids that you didn't get?
I spent time.
Yeah,
I spent time. I took time off from work to go and coach their sports teams, mainly rugby. I really focused on spending three or 4 years with my daughter, going to Aikido and coaching her rugby team as well, which was just a absolute pleasure. Coaching young ladies and bringing out the aggression with the rules and building confidence as they learn to really get physical, get the physicality up with playing the game, and the ultimate reward is winning. And we did that. We did that well. So it was yeah, just a lot of fun. Really, it wasn't a burden. But yeah, coaching my boys teams all the way through, and yeah, I used to do Boys Brigade with them as well, which was a boys' club. Yeah. Um, what else? Yeah, what I did differently was, if I ever sparked up with anger, I would go and sit on the bed next to them after I calmed down, and I would say something like, I I'm sorry you experienced my anger then. What I was doing was covering fear, fear of you getting harmed or hurt by your actions, and what's under that is a deep love for you, that you get through this life, without being significantly wounded or harmed, especially while I'm your dad, as a parent. They've all left home now, so I felt really proud of that. That I could see that, and that came through the work of being in the Mankind Project and just working with young men coming through, catching moments where a young man was 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 terrified, and just the words that came through me were, for me in that moment and watching this young man, was, if my dad didn't do that for me, why should I do it for you? And that changed. It changed a really big facet of my life, for me to be able to allow my kids a lot more access to me, because I didn't experience that with my dad, and it was no reason not to. So, yeah, I gave them a whole lot more once I realised that. Yeah. Mm. So yeah, there's been lots and lots of learnings over the years, and our conversations as we've come together, and you've talked about a boy's journey to manhood, and I remember the conversation with you, and that my understanding of myself was that when my dad died, when I was 13 years old, the churchmen came for me, and they came round and they were trying to encourage me to mow the lawns, and teach me things that they thought I needed to know and stuff like that. But I had this attitude of, I don't like this, and I resisted it all. And I never caught on, or was never taught, or never picked up the part where I should lean into and move towards this and see it like a challenge, rise to the occasion. Often resisted any correction, and I think that has set me back in a way that has limited me, and I think it's really important. I'm not sure how to communicate that to other young men when someone is coming at them trying to teach them something, and if they were to slip into victim or something like that and go, they're being mean to me, or they don't love me, or they don't want the best for me, I would be, how could I encourage a young man to look at it like a challenge and rise to the occasion, and do your best to step forward or step towards that thing which is challenging me right now, and see it as a growth step, as opposed to looking at it like, oh, it's hard work, I don't like hard work, or something like that. I know, as I've trained apprentices in the building trade, that there's sometimes is a recalibration of teaching a work ethic, and I love doing that. It's a really, I find it a real pleasure to do that, and I know in other places, in other spaces, and other traditions, or that it can be like hard, really hard. The Yeah, it's someone passing on perhaps the bullying that they experienced through their apprenticeship, and taking pleasure in dishing it out after them having to have lived through it, sort of thing. So
I did a carpentry apprenticeship, and then 23 years in a martial arts organisation, and so I got really kind of good at being told what to do, and you know, it took me a long time to get out of being told what to think and thinking what I thought I was told to think, and yeah, I had a lot of abuse in my early apprenticeship, a lot of verbal abuse, and name calling, and that sent, yeah, what was I, probably would have been early 17, and I'd started to have a mental breakdown, I would call that. I think I had. Yeah, just things started to get really, really weird for me, and I managed to transfer my apprenticeship over to another guy that was, yeah, certainly better, and to the degree that I could complete my apprenticeship. And something that I've been considering recently is I've gotten an adult apprentice through, and I've put four 16-year-olds, or actually, from 14 to 16-year-old apprentices on, and never had them get through. And so it's almost like, instead of dishing out the same thing that I got, I think I did the complete opposite, but I couldn't say that it's more effective. Or, my judgment is that doing the complete opposite of being abused actually isn't effective. And so I think at 48, I'm still trying to find my way around the mentoring role of a builder, and how to do that in a way that makes good carpenters, makes good builders, and makes good men or women.
Mm. Yeah, I enjoy teaching. I enjoy the building of character, and we don't just talk about building. Yeah, no, it's been great, and I've had other builders come along and ask me how I do it, and I couldn't tell you how, but I'd attribute it to the men's work and just been loving what I do. Yeah.
How do you do it, Scott? Would love to know.
I couldn't tell you. Part of the journey of leadership in my life has been putting words to what is, uh, and and that's been difficult. Just because I just it's having to really reflect on who I am and what I do, and sometimes when I focus on it too much, the beliefs I have about myself get blurred in with wanting to be less than, and that's just part of my history. So yeah, being in the moment and uh, doing what's in front of me is there's a lot of not thinking. It's just being, being in the doing. So yeah, how do I do it? So I guess if I was to reflect on what others have said about me, is that I have a presence that has a lot to do with charisma, and I read a book on charisma. It it was probably leaning towards not being selfish. Charisma to my understanding, is when I'm really interested and open and listening with all of my senses, my body as well, to the person who's in front of me or who's with me. So, and that could possibly be a superpower. So, always reading what's happening in the person in front of me is probably the how. Yeah, holding them in positive regard and encouraging the shit out of it. Yeah, yeah. So yeah. And if you asked my wife, she would tell you that I'm always keen to share everything that I learn. Everything that I learn. So everything I learn, I want to give away. And that is also a key element to who I am. So,
Thank you.
where to from there?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for that. It feels like moment to moment, and it doesn't feel like the framework of a 4-year apprenticeship or a career. It's something that you show up to every day and every moment, and a practice. And I think that's a beautiful frame. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like being interested and yeah, and encouragement.
Thinking a little longer, a little deeper about how I consider that I show up or do or want to show up and do and be, is that, there is part of that thing of losing my father early. I get to be the father I didn't have, you know, and in that I also uh, I've stopped at times and shared with my kids and said, you know what, when they were 13, I said, you're at the age now when I lost my dad, and you know what, after this, I I don't know what I'm doing. You know, there's no instructions, and there's no role model apart from who I see outside of that. So there's this opportunity to to be whatever I want to be in that space, and yeah, I certainly wanted to protect them all and stuff like that, and sharing stuff like. If you go to too many parties, it's the first party's special, but if you do it all the time, it's not special anymore. So don't thrash it too much. There's a sacredness to that. And yeah, real simple stuff. Not sure what else to say, Damien.
Yeah, beautiful. So moving to MKP and what I'm going to call initiation work and rites of passage work, mostly for blokes 18 years and older. Yeah, in 20 years, what are some insights that you've taken from that work?
Well, I certainly look forward to it. I think when I was first going to the first event that I went to, I was saying to myself, I hope I get something out of this, and I did, and so going back again and learning the finer points of being in a circle of men who want to be creating, co-creating, collaborating together. Within that collaboration, there's this sacred space that is generated, created, and some might call it liminal space. That and what happens inside that is incredibly powerful and a real privilege to be inside of, especially here in New Zealand. I've been in some incredibly fantastic, I want to say intimate weekends where there is such beauty that it's just holy shit, this is cool. So it's been a real pleasure to 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 have that in my life, and yeah, and that's why I've gone back. That's why I've gone back. Yeah. So insights. There's been a real. I have a hunger for learning. So I've been reading lots of books, and I've done a few courses, and I've since qualified as a coach. When I say coach, kind of like a life coach, but it's from the aspect of from the experience of working with men for 20 years. Um, and I'd say one of the biggest aspects of the work is self mastery, and there's a lot in that. There's a lot in there. Um, Emotional literacy, emotional intelligence is a big one. You know, to to see myself, to notice myself and the parts of myself and what they do. So really diving into the unconscious parts of myself and making them conscious. That I don't think ever stops. It's a work in progress sort of thing. But certainly in helping men and women get to know themselves is fun. It's lovely seeing the lights come on when there's a realization and a breakthrough. And then feel like I'm jumping around here. The enlightenment. There is enlightenment in this work. We talk about the feeling I take away from the weekend, that it will fade. Do you know that one? The energy you got going through, the awakenings of all sorts of different aspects of archetypes in life, and realizations, and hearing another man's truth or his what's normal for him is a realization. I know I'm not alone. Is just huge. And then going home, the work needs to carry on to keep the level of enlightenment up there, because if I'm not feeding it, then it does go. It turns into that. Oh, that was a great weekend. Something happened, and it's not about going from weekend to weekend. It's how do I open up to what's already here? All the information's already here. I've just got to keep turning the page, keep opening the book, keep connecting with myself, keep connecting with the world around me, learn how to create that sacred space, take 100% responsibility for all the parts of me, you know. And I think learning that over 20 years has been fantastic, because it hasn't been just one big bang. It's been real gradual and gentle, and I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah.
Thanks, man.
That's all right. Yeah, for a long time I was involved in the what we now call a bit of a ceremony called we call it a koromahu. That means steam bath in the Maori language. Very much like a sweat lodge. So I've been sitting in that space for a long time, and through that I went and ventured into Sundance and experienced all of what that has to offer. And again, sitting on the earth in the dark, being embraced by the steam, and speaking of appreciation and gratitude and connection to the earth and all that supports me in this life has been uh, a big part of my journey as well, in the presence and the grounding and again, yeah, a real putting myself in that environment has been, it's been different, but again, it's been really enjoyable, and I've done it for me. I haven't really gone out to do it for anyone else, but I guess it all sort of rubs off at the end of the day, and it's what you experience when you see me. But you know, I don't consider myself to be anyone special, Damien. It's just I just love what I do, and I'm drawn to it. Mm.
You mentioned before supporting men and women in this work. So, as I understand it, you're close to a initiation process designed for women.
Uh, yes, and I would pass on the words that they would say. The organisation is that it's not an initiation, so not to make you wrong or anything. It's just that I think there is a rich heritage and story in that women are initiated by nature, and is, you know, that happens. whether they like it or not, and it is unique and special in the world of the feminine. My involvement has been to support my wife in her search for something like I've experienced, and in that we've been able to. She has experienced a weekend of healing, empowerment, and release, and that's the acronym for those words is HER, and it's called the HER Weekend. And we have, Rachel has pushed through and brought it to New Zealand, and so we have training coming up in July, and that has been rich in staffing together as husband and wife, and supporting the whole journey here with passing on some knowledge about what I know, and also learning to step back and just be really supportive, you know. So again, wonderful to see the healing in a man or a woman when they are given space, given room to explore, to release, to let go of something and invite in something new, or pick up and reclaim what has been in exile. Um, that's kind of chat for going back and getting my dignity from where it was taken away from me, getting my joy back from where I was asked to put it down, getting my power back from where it was, again, maybe stolen or taken, or where I was told to put it down. Um, those are uh, those are those are incredible moments to see people pick those up again and reclaim them for themselves. And you know what? It's kind of cool to be like a messenger and say, actually, you can do that. You can go and get that thing that, somebody told you to leave behind, or you left behind because it wasn't safe to do or be all you were back then, and now it is. So, those are really special moments. Yeah, real cool.
Yeah, I got a few mates, a couple of fellas in, MKP guys and guys in my men's circle. We're in central Victoria, and certainly when I first saw her weekend, I got pretty excited. And there's been, conversation with some friends to maybe one day come and do the weekend, send our partners to do the weekend, or support in any way that we can. So again, my limited understanding is that there's a place for me as a partner to support. Is this true?
We the Her Weekend has a space for men to staff, and we usually are inviting men who have done the men's weekend with the Mankind Project, the New Warrior Training Adventure, because there's a bunch of understanding and exposure that set a man up to be able to understand the journey that is in front of the woman. And I do want to stress that not every man makes it onto the staff, because there is an interviewing process, and it's just creating, yeah, a safe environment for the women to be able to do their work. Yeah, pretty strict on keeping that safe. Yeah, there is a threshold. Yeah. And again, if like the men's work, if anyone's going to send someone, I would ask that the person they're sending wants to do the work. So that's really helpful. It's helpful for the person and as a participant, and it's helpful for the staff as well, you know. Yeah.
Beautiful. Are there any more thoughts? Any more you want to say about rites of passage, initiation, your journey?
I recommend it, you know, and for anyone who is considering or, you know, curious and asking questions, I've got to say it'll be the best thing you could do for yourself. I want to say too that, you know, after learning a bit about some lines and some passages of books and things have just jumped out at me, you know, change happens on the edge of comfort. So it's, you know, it's a risky thing seeking answers and change. My trauma has got me where I am today. I'm here because of my trauma. I'm doing what I'm doing because of my trauma, you know. And it's not that I'm sitting in anger and fear and grief or anything like that. It's there's been a gift of all of that has happened to me, and you know I'm resourced because of it. You know, there's lessons and learnings and resources that are in me now because of something happening the way it did. A favorite quote of mine from Carl Jung, you know, until I make the unconscious conscious, it will rule my life and I will call it fate, you know. There's much bigger messages in that than just those words. I'm here for the power of love, not the love of power, you know. And I certainly think the power of love can really help someone bring them through to a new way of being. So I appreciate all these little teachings that I've picked up over the years and that have helped me. I want to say if there's any men listening to this who are in have the opportunity to go to a men's circle, go to the men's circle and do the work, do your work, do the work, and you know, make the world a better place by witnessing and being witnessed for other men and yourself. Yeah, yeah. And fathers, be good to your daughters. That's in a song. That's the words of a song. But I'm serious. You know, fathers, be good to your daughters and your sons. They will love like you do, and your sons will too. They're watching everything you do, and the chances are they'll marry a man just like you. Yeah.
You got daughters, bro?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I asked that question of my daughter a couple of years ago. I said, "Oh, because my sons had their girlfriends over for Christmas, and I said, oh, there's going to be a day soon when you'll have your partner here." And she she said to me, "Oh gosh, Dad, it's going to be hard to find someone who measures up to you." And I was like, "Oh, stunning, thank you." But yeah, it was a real blessing. Yeah,
I appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah, I'm really grateful for your time, Scott. I'm really grateful for your journey and your family. I'm also grateful to my family for giving me the space to have these conversations as I learn and grow and uncover what this project is. It's already given me so much, just the knowing now that I can call a man and say, I want to have a deep conversation with you and I want to record it to show people what a deep conversation looks and feels like, and that there's so much willingness. And it might all be for me, and even if that's the case, it's really, really, really rich.
cool. That's awesome. I appreciate you approaching me, and I appreciate myself meeting you here. And I want to say that I was challenged by it, and I feel really good about it now. So thank you for reaching out.